Yes, hello everybody, welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford and joining me in this guest special podcast is JP. Well, JP, looking forward to this one, mate. A bit different from obviously Celtic podcasts and football players, but obviously the man on the screen, Ben Jones, ex-professional boxer. He was actually in football, so we'll obviously get to know that as well. But I'm looking forward to this, JP, and it's really good to get Ben on.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the time he's taken to come on and speak to two lads like ourselves from the East End of Glasgow, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
Normally people, when they find out boys are from East End of Glasgow, they normally turn and go their way, but with Ben being a boxer, I think he's in safe hands tonight.
It's all good. Absolute pleasure, lads.
So again, Ben, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, obviously speaking to John, your promoter, so I know you've been really busy, so I really appreciate your time to take you out to speak to us, mate. Obviously, you've won 5 titles as well, champion, mate. So, again, you've fought at a very high level compared to me and JP, so I think you're right on safe hands here, mate.
Thank you. No, I'm all right. I'm safe for you two boys anyway. I'm all right.
Well, obviously, Ben, you're brought up in Crawley, is that right? Is that where you were born?
Yeah, I was born in Crawley, Crawley Hospital, which not many people were born there now, but yeah, I was brought up. So that's right next to Gatwick Airport for you lot, obviously being right up north there. But it's so it's just the edge of South London.
Because obviously, I'm guessing, I know you've played football in the past, but how was it growing up back in the days? Obviously, in Glasgow as well, it was just football. Football was on my mind. It was probably the same as JP's, Ben. So was football always your main thing, and then it went to boxing growing up?
Well, it's a bit of both, to be honest. The main reasons I was into sport, I had ADHD. I was a young kid who was completely hyperactive. Mm-hmm. Started sport from a very young age. I was probably driving my mum and dad up the wall until I was actually allowed to go to some sports. So I started, my first sports I was in was rugby and judo. Because weirdly enough, they let you join at 6 years old, so I could go and do them sports. And weirdly enough, I really shone to rugby. Obviously, being a featherweight boxer in the end, I was probably a bit on the small side. But I eventually played for the county and stuff for the school and stuff. I was a good scrum half back in the day, you know. So mainly because of speed, I was fast, you know, and obviously extra fit because of the ADHD and that sort of thing, and had too much energy to burn. But ended up, obviously, football sort of started up at sort of 8 years old, and same with boxing. So I was straight into them as well. So at the time, did judo, rugby, boxing, athletics. I did everything. I was one of them kids that just wanted to do every single sport there was, and wanted to be the best at every sport there was. But as it got to my sort of teens, you could see that the two sports that I was really doing well with, it was the football and the boxing. Eventually, coming to my late teens, I had to make a decision, you know, and which one do I take? And that was sort of you're probably going to ask these questions, so I'll go into it. But the reason I sort of chose boxing more so than the football in the very end was I was at Fulham football, which is fantastic club. But they got taken over by Al Fayed, who's obviously a very rich man, and Kevin Keegan come along as manager. Ray Wilkins was manager with him, and I was in the youth team, which was with Alan Smith, which was one fantastic club. It was becoming. We were the third division at first, going up to the second division, and we were pushing on for the Premiership as they are now. And I could see myself getting sort of pushed to the side a little bit and not being in their money side of things, you know. Mm-hmm. And that was the time that I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on my boxing, and I did. As I started doing that, obviously my boxing went from strength to strength. I was always a decent boxer and a good level, but I went up to, you know, England level, you know, the top of the country sort of level. So we got there. We got there in the end.
What was the history, obviously, the background, in terms of so many sports at the same time? Was that just because you mentioned you had a condition? So was that a family member that chose that path for you, Ben, or was that you that actually
I think my mum and dad done it on purpose to try and get me out of the house, I think. But Yeah, I mean that as well. I think is the problem is I'd have struggled at school if not. I mean, there might hopefully be people out there that understand ADHD, which is you're hyper all the time, and the sport let me learn. So I could do 2 or 3 hours of sport at night. By the time I woke up the next morning, I actually slept very well. Some people with ADHD don't sleep well. I slept very well. But when I woke up in the morning, because I'd burnt that energy off, I could control myself and learn for the day.
Yeah.
And then obviously with PE at school and whatever, and then stayed on beyond after school for an hour or extra, whatever it was, whatever sport it was. Then went on to boxing, then went on to football, and goodness knows what other sports I was doing at the same time. So it was just everything. I needed sport. Sport saved me. If I didn't have sport, I'd be still probably running up the walls now. And as you can probably see, I'm 40 years old and I'm hyperactive still, but I can control it now. I've got to that age where I'm in control, which is good.
And is that because of the boxing, Ben? Do you think that sort of disciplines you in that side?
Massively. Boxing's an amazing sport for discipline. Out of all of the sports I was in, boxing had that strong discipline side. A little bit like army mentality, If they say jump, you say how high. It's a very yes sir, no sir. If you're a minute late, you're doing press ups. It's one of them type of sports, and I believe that you've got to be so dedicated in boxing. Don't get me wrong, you have to be dedicated in all sports, but in boxing, for all, you can't say to the other guy, you're fighting in a second, well, I'm knackered. Just give us a second. In football, you could get back and you could get someone to help you. Do you know what I mean? Cut in and whatever, but you've got to be super fit to be a boxer at the top level, and there's no excuses. It's you and the other person. There's no one else around to blame,
And that was quite. You said you started boxing there at 8 years of age.
That's right.
Was that quite an eye-opening experience for you? That were you going into like a gym to see people who are maybe obviously more advanced than you and think to yourself, "Wow, is that what I could possibly be one day?" Or were you just going in there just to try and learn like the basics of it?
It's a strange one, to be honest. I could see that with many people, and I see that now. I up down the local amateur gyms, and I see that now, and I'm totally with it. At that time, I was probably the most confident kid you'd ever meet in your life. I walked in that gym and told them I was going to be champion. It was the opposite way. I was overconfident. I'd already done loads of sports as it was, and I was that kid that straight away believed I was going to be the best. It was that type of person. I was lucky as well. My granddad was a boxing champion in the forces. My dad's side of the family are very rough and tough, brought up more scrapping and stuff, but was involved in boxing as well. So I already, before I walked in that gym, I knew how to box. I might have been 8 years old, but I remember the coach coming over to my dad and just saying, "Wow, I've never seen anyone like this before." He already knows he's 8 years old, sort of thing. So I'd already had that little step ahead on the boxing side.
That's quite interesting, Ryan, isn't it? The fact that Ben says he's 8 years old. And you look back at it in those days, and we grew up in a kind of similar sort of scenario.
Yeah.
But at 8 years old, mate, I don't know what you were doing, but I don't think my mind was on getting into a boxing ring and being able to. Although we did stay in the East End of Glasgow.
Yeah.
But I'm now 38 now myself, so I mean, even in those days when I was 8, so. No, I my hat off to you, Ben, because it must have took a lot of courage. It must have took a lot of courage going into an environment there where you didn't know a lot of people, and obviously to then show what you were kind of capable of doing over time, and that's quite interesting, Ryan, isn't it?
It is. I mean, like I say, I see it now, and I understand how kids feel. Do you know what? Weirdly enough, if you put me in that situation now, it'd be different. But at 8 years old, I never had that fear. I don't know why. I just was built. That's how I was built. But now I see the 8-year-olds that come in and they're scared and they're worried and whatever. But all I do know, I can take them to the side, and I do know by the end of the hour session or whatever an 8-year-old has, they will see a whole different side of boxing. With boxing, there's never a bully in a boxing club. It never happens. Do you know what? Everyone in that boxing club, whether they're 12, 14, 11, 8 years old, they'll all be your friend in there because you're friends. It's one of the only one sport that I would say that you might have a policeman, a lawyer, an office businessman, a criminal, a drug dealer. You can have such a range of people, and in a boxing gym, they're all friends.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, don't get me wrong, the policeman will be arresting the drug dealer and whatever, they're all with that going on. In a boxing gym, they're best mates, and that is how it works. And if there's people watching that are into boxing, that's one thing I will say, that you're a team in that gym, even though it's an individual sport.
Mm-hmm.
In that gym, you're a team. There's no grass in a boxing gym. You're not doing something that there's no grasses, and you all have to try together, and it works. It's a weird and wonderful thing. It's something that I'd love every young lad or young girl as well nowadays. There's a lot of girls involved. I've got my little daughter boxing, and it's the most best for confidence, strength. It shows you it's great for your sporting abilities. It's absolutely amazing, and I think it's one amazing place to walk into, and it'll give you confidence for any sport that you ever go to.
And obviously, like you went into 8, so is that a proper? Would you say that's probably a best starting age for any young kid that wants to aspire to do something like that?
Do you know what? I've got real mixed opinions with it. I think it's fantastic for any 8-year-old because it gives them confidence for life. My reason why it's a mixed opinion is because when I was there, there's not one other kid that started with me at 8 years old, even 10 years old, that's carried on. So with me, so there was very, very few that carried on through. So it's one of them things that they end up, they get to their teens, they find girls, and they get into drinking and whatever else, and they take an easier option because boxing's hard, mind you, So boxing, you either got to be fully dedicated or not.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's very, very young. So sometimes I might say to kids, well, do it when you want to do it, not when someone's telling you to. Get your kid in there at 8 years old because he wants to. Let that kid make his own decision. I wanted to box. That's what I wanted to do, so I loved it, But there's kids that go there and they're like, their mums and dads are maybe pushing them in there, maybe because they love boxing, but also maybe because they want to make them more confident or a little bit more streetwise, so they know what they're doing, so if they get picked on or something, So there's an option. It's a weird thing. I'd constantly say to people, make sure your child wants to do it, really, really wants to do it, because it's one hard game. You can't take it half-hearted.
When when did you think, obviously you played football, Ben, and obviously at the level you did play to start off at Fulham, it was probably still a good level at the time to get to under 18s, the YTS scheme. That, for me, Ben, I would say that's still a good level to get to. When did you think that maybe I've got a real talent here in boxing? I know you're saying you're very good at it, but when did you feel this is time to me to push on through the amateur ranks and try and get to a professional? When did it click to go, I've got a real chance in this game?
Do you know what? It's really odd because even though I was doing the 2, maybe even more than 2 sports at the time, and there was quite a few sports. They were my 2 main sports. I was still doing well at my boxing, so I was there or thereabouts, But it was only in the time where, maybe 17 sort of years old, where I really went, do you know what? Football's driving me mad now. I think I found, really, I'm not a team player. I played for Fulham, and I'd come back and I'd be happy if we lost, and my dad would be like, or the manager would be like, we lost. But to me, I played well. If I played well, I was happy. And it's another thing, we could play another team and we could win 3-0. The manager's over the moon. We've won. I wasn't happy. I didn't play well. So it was all about me. It was never. So I think at that point where I realised, maybe this ain't my sport. I love football. Don't get me wrong. I still get involved in charity matches and whatever's now with all the ex footballers and the stars and whatever. I love it. Love football, and I love playing. But I did have that point where it weren't about winning or losing. It was about how good I played.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes to see whether you're an individual sportsman or, it was all about how if I played well, I'm happy, sort of thing, So.
No, but I can kind of gauge that because, being honest, when I played football, I love playing football, but I played up front. If I didn't score, I wasn't happy, even if it won 10-0. If I didn't score, I was like, well, I didn't play well, I didn't score. I'm happy with one, but I would be going home, but I didn't score today. But that was JP. That was the way it was. I wasn't.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, no.
But then it sort of makes you think, well, maybe in the long run, maybe there was a sport. You know, you love football, but it might have been another sport that actually you're more individual and you actually might have loved it even more.
Yeah.
I look at it now, I'm sport mad, but who knows? I might have been good at baseball. I've never played baseball. Do you see what I mean? You just don't know. But there's another sport that maybe that would have been, it might have been tennis. I never really played tennis, you know. It might have been one of them. So it'd be nice to start all again and just go, right, I'm not doing any of them 10 sports. I'm going to do these 10 sports and see how you do. You know, if you're a sportsman, I think you're a sportsman, really. And as long as you concentrate properly on that sport, I believe you can be at the top of any sport if you're at the top of your game in the first place, you know.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way though, Ben, because I remember being on holiday in Benidorm with a couple of my mates a few years back, and we decided we'd get the rackets out for a game of tennis on the hotel grounds.
Yeah.
And my mate didn't get the memo that we weren't playing a game called rounders, which means you just hit the ball and you run round a big field, and hopefully it's a bit like baseball, Ben. But I don't know what it's called, maybe down south or
rounders. Rounders. I know rounders.
We used to call it rounders, and we used to sometimes play it in the street and we used jackets as posts, sort of thing.
That's it, yeah.
But obviously my mate didn't get the justy what we were actually trying to do, and we ended up having to pay €10 for a new ball. Which he wasn't best pleased for, because he had to actually pay the €10 because he hit the ball away into this sort of waste ground away over the hotel grounds. There was no way I was going to get it, mate.
That's it, yeah.
See, in terms of obviously anti-boxing, I'm guessing when you always went in the gym, Ben, for the first time, and you've seen, like you says, it's a team game in the boxing, like you're all friends, and do you think that stands you in good stead as you went on through amateur and into your profession, because you had that kind of unity in the gym, but then when you left that gym, you're alone and you need to fight for yourself type of thing?
Of course. Yeah, 100%. I think it's a hard thing for me to say because there is a few that happen, but I do believe to be a good professional boxer, you've got to have that background of amateurs. You know, you've got to have some sort of what you go through as a team. Because when you turn pro, pretty much, don't get me wrong, there is a few pro coaches that train you with lots of you, but it's more of a one-on-one basis when you're pro. Even if you're in a group of 4 or 5 of you, you still get that one-on-one time a hell of a lot more than you do when you're an amateur. And you've got your coach checking up on you, whether you've done your runs early in the morning, or you've done this, or you're going off to swimming and you're doing this and doing that, or even they're there as well, you know. So it's a very it's a sport that gives you no rest. You know, you've really got to push to the limit, otherwise don't go into it. Do you know what I mean? It's not one you think, do you know what, I'll give it a try. It's all or nothing, you know. It's one of them.
See in terms of obviously I totally believe you and believe what you're saying, because I believe it's the same as a professional footballer. You can't just try it. You've got to be full in diet and nutrition. You're basically a professional all your days until you really retire. So I do believe in terms of, I personally believe that boxing's more disciplined in terms of that, because if you're not eating properly, training properly, it will show up in your training camps, it will show up on your fights. But as a footballer, if you play well on a Saturday, you can kind of get away with it, eventually it will catch up with you. But I feel, Ben, you might be able to correct me, but I feel if you don't have the best of training camp, so you're not really doing the right things, it could show up early doors in some of your fights.
100%. I think a lot of it with boxing as well is it's done by weight categories. As in, obviously, I'm nearly on 12 stone, but I've boxed at 9 stone. So if you look at that, it's it was only 4.5 years ago. My natural weight, don't get me wrong, my natural weight, if I was in training all the time, would probably be about 10.5, 11 stone. So you've now got to strip yourself to your strongest weight that you can get to without losing any strength. Okay, which is a dedication in itself. So then you've got as you probably both know, you know, if you've gone on a little bit of a diet, you start feeling tired and weak and whatever. And now try and train for 4 hours a day too. Add that on top, you know, that's when it becomes very, very difficult, you know. That's why boxing's such a hard game. It's not about, because you're getting punched in the head and whatever. Don't get me wrong, that's difficult, but you try not to get punched in the head, you know. So, but the other bits, the uncontrolled bits, where you naturally have got to get down to your weight to get to where you are still very, very strong, but you get down to the lowest weight. Otherwise, you end up fighting people. I'm 5'8", so I'll be fighting. If I was fighting at say 11.5 stone, I'll be fighting the same weight as like Chris Eubanks, people super middleweights.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big. They're just, you know, the size of your bouncers, but they've come down 2 stone too. Do you see what I mean? Their natural weight when they retire will be, instead of 11.5, 12 stone, will be more like 14 stone, but in a big good shape as well. And it'll be a big guy, you know. They're your bouncers on the door, and that's how boxing works. You keep to your strengths, you know. You get right down to the weight where you're still strong, and that's the discipline side of boxing as well.
How hard was it, Ben, to actually? I know you fought 3 weight classes, so how was it to go to the higher weight, the middleweight, the lower? How, see, to keep your weight, was that not hard? Obviously, like you like maybe like a beer, you like a Chinese, you like a pizza, you like all the stuff we all like, right? But how hard was it to refrain yourself, you know, doing that too much, because you have to make the weights? And I know, I'm guessing by after you've had your weigh in, etc., you can maybe one night you can have a wee bit more because you're fighting the next day and you've made the weight. But was it very hard to stick to the weights and stick to the plans, because we're all human beings and we're all liable to maybe a bit more than we should?
100%. Do you know what? It's the hardest thing of boxing. Do you know, truthfully, was probably the only reason why I really retired. I retired at 36 years old. The reason I retired mainly was weight. I was ranked at featherweight. I was doing very well at featherweight. Realistically, I should have probably been up at least lightweight or light welterweight. You know, going up them weights. I should have gradually been moving up. I was still getting there. It was killing me, to be honest. And that was the time that it was so difficult. But going to the side of our discipline, it is major. The 8 weeks before your fight is coming up, the discipline and the amount of calories you intake to the amount of calories you're burning, it's got to be huge to be taking off 2 or 3 pounds a week. It's madness. And then how you feel whilst training. And realistically, like I said, 4 hours a day. So you got one of them sessions for an hour. It's really hard. You try and keep that energy with 2,000 calories in your body, which sounds like quite a lot to a normal person, but you train 4 hours a day, 2,000 calories is absolutely nothing. Honestly, it's gone. You know, you're literally starving. Weirdly enough, I'd walk into going to a petrol station. I swear I could smell the chocolate for the wrappers. that's how hungry I was for something like that, you know. And that's probably the reason why I should have been going up the weights, you know, gradually, because it was horrendous, you know. And what happened in the end, the reason why I retired was nothing to do with fitness or anything like that. But as I got older, they were clever and they were offering good money to fight in 3 weeks' time. Well, but knowingly, your Eddie Hearns and stuff, no, they know me from, obviously, I signed with Matchroom, you know, so they know that I was losing weight. So 3 weeks now to try and lose 1.5 stone is hard, very hard. Do you see what I mean? You haven't got the time. So you've got to push to the absolute limits. And that's half the reason why I retired, because I was going up against, you know, people that have had 8 weeks, and 3 weeks is no good at all, you know. So
we've got a wee question for you, Ben, here off our YouTube channel. Obviously, one of the listeners, John, he's asking, how did you financially support yourself as a young pro, Ben, when you're obviously in the early days?
Yeah, well, I was very, very lucky. My mum and dad had their head screwed on with me. Obviously knew I was going to be a professional of some sort, whether it's boxing, whatever. They said to me, obviously I wasn't the brightest kid in the world. I'm very switched on, but not academically. They said, go and get a trade. Listen to me, go into trade. You've got always something to fall back on. So I went into plumbing and heating. And luckily, by the time, weirdly enough, I worked for British Gas and stuff, and as a young lad, by the time I got to 2021, I'd started my own business, and it was rolling by the time I got to 24 as a pro. So while I was doing 4 hours a day training, afterwards and before, I could do maybe my invoicing or my quotations and a few light things, keeping an eye on a few of the lads that worked for me at the time, and I could make some more pennies out of that as well, which was very lucky, because as a young pro, as the man has asked, you don't earn very much money. I was lucky enough, I signed for Matchroom, so actually I earned better money than most, you know, but it was never anything great. I mean, you're looking back then, it was $2,000 to $2,500 a fight maximum, you know, for your first fight. So realistically, if you have, I think I had 3 or 4 in my first year, you ain't earning a lot of money, you know. So it's a very difficult to try and hold it all together, and lucky I was earning some pennies out of my business at the time, you know.
That is quite lucky.
See, in terms of, like you say, Ben, when you're fighting, how key is the nutrition? Do you get? I personally feel that if you have a cheat day, sometimes it can be 2 cheat days, it can be 3 cheat days, etc. So is that why it's very important to employ the right guys around you to make sure, just if it's chefs or guys to help you, that it's the right guys to take you on that path? Because it must be hard to keep the same, I'm not saying the same foods, but to keep eating healthy and keeping fit, because we're all human beings. We all can slip off radar sometimes. But is it because you've got the main goal of the title fights that you're very focused on your nutrition and your desire to win titles and get further in your career?
Of course, 100%. I mean, the thing is with boxing as well, is if you weigh in not just 1 pound over, 1 ounce over, that's it. The fight's over. The title is not on, you know. Don't get me wrong, they'll still let, if you weighed in 2 ounces too heavy and you couldn't skip any more off or whatever within the hour they give you, you'd still get to fight, but you wouldn't win the title. So that is in your mind. It's got to be the biggest dedication, really. You're set to fight for this title as such. Your biggest dedication is to get to weight and make that happen. You know, you want that, you know. So, yeah, that you've got to be so strict with your food, drink, and whatever. And obviously, I never did. I'm drinking beer now, but through my boxing career, that was a no-no.
Yeah.
You know, don't get me wrong. There would have been a few odd times that I could have, but you never knew when you were going to get a call up. So there was. I'm not a very good drinker anyway. I've never have been, and probably never will be. But you know, but you just can't do it. I mean, the amount of calories in just one beer would have been not worth me doing it. Do you see what I mean? Just for that reason alone, and not alone, you know, what else comes off of that, you know.
Don't worry about it, mate. You said you're not a big drinker. You do get better with practice.
Yes, I've been trying. I've got my years to catch up on. I've got plenty of time to catch up on this.
That's it. They say life starts at 40, Ben. So that's obviously now you're.
I'm nowhere near there yet. I've got about 10 years, I
think. See, in terms of your actual, like a day, Ben, like, what would your a traditional day be from like your breakfast to you go to your bed and recover? When you were fighting, what would the food you would eat, would you be a part of your daily routine? There
we go. Right. See, my foods when I boxed, okay, I would, so say if a standard person would have 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, okay? Yeah. So I'd get 3 healthy meals and I'd split them into 8 portions, okay? So I'd get the same amount of food, but split it into 8 portions.
Yep.
That would speed my metabolism up. So every 2.5 hours I'd eat, okay? Whether I felt hungry or not. So my hunger wouldn't be so bad, because I know that in 2 hours time, whatever, I'll be eating again. So actually your body becomes into so basically you turn your body into a furnace. So how I look at it is if your body's a fire. So you've got a big fire and you put a big log on it, it'll burn all night. So if you eat that big 1 meal, you burn all night. So that's how your body works. So if you eat 8, if you put that into 8 little like kindling, big bag of kindling, you can throw it on it, it burns straight away. So my body's metabolism was so fast because of doing it that way. It just burn off all my food very quickly. And then I just basically, how I would do it is I'd cut my carbs in the afternoon as well. So in the afternoon, all I would eat is simple carbs, your vegetables and that sort of thing. There would be my carbs. So I keep away from your pastas, your breads, and all them sort of things in the afternoons, and they're for my mornings. So, and that works for me. Don't get me wrong, everybody's different, but I speak and train people now at the local amateur gym, and it works for them too. So as a boxer, that seems to work. Ricky Hatton did something very similar. Split his meals into 8 to 12 portions, and well, you just see Ricky Hatton last week. What great shape he's got in, considering he was Ricky Fatton, bless him, and what a lovely guy, But he and what a legend of the sport. I mean, he was someone that I all through my career, followed him around the world to America and stuff, watching him as well. Fantastic fans as well, and what a great guy for boxing, really.
I actually thought he did. I watched the fight with Barrera. I actually thought he did quite well, Ben.
Yeah, he's still sharp. His feet were still sharp to me.
Definitely, he caught him a few. He caught him a few crackers in the face. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to sting him too much, but you could tell. He could have if he wanted.
There was a couple of warning shots. I thought there was in the early couple of rounds. The two of them were kind of feeling each other out, and then Barrera. I think Barrera tried one to the body, and you could see Hatton sort of Ricky's face change a wee bit, and part of that was, he caught him flush right in the chin after that. And I think that was more a warning to say, right, be careful what you're doing, because I can also go for it as well here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Barrera, people obviously over here, especially if you're a non-boxing fan, but Barrera was a complete legend. I mean, an absolute amazing fighter at his sport,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Ricky Hatton was fantastic too, but Barrera was something special in his prime,
Yeah.
Very, very special. Lot of weights. But I could see his age in him, Barrera. That was the thing.
I can still remember that Prince Nazim fight.
Yeah, well, look how clever he was.
And Naz was trying everything he used to do to psych people out, and Barrera just went to town with him.
100%. I was there. See, still a British fan. Prince Nazim was untouchable, but I knew there was your Barrera and Morales, and also Pacquiao was coming through at the same time as well.
Yeah.
These guys were special, but Prince Nassim held my hands up. What a fantastic fight! My weight as well, they were, so they were very, very good. I was a bit young then.
Can I comment as well for John? Ben, what was the shortest notice you had for a fight when you were fighting?
I believe 3 weeks. I started getting a few at 3 weeks, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I think actually that's a lie. I think I fought Stephen Smith on about 2.5 weeks' notice, I believe, which was nowhere near enough time. I was young, silly, grabbed the money. Don't get me wrong, Stephen's a great fighter, great thing. I just believed I could do it, and sillily should have been told, "There's no way, don't do it, don't even try. Wait, get right amount of time, and then we'll make it happen." But. You get like that in boxing. You're too brave for your own self. You need someone really behind you to go, no, listen. You fight on equal terms. You get 8 weeks, he gets 8 weeks. Let's do it properly. But when you're on your sort of way up and you want it so much so quickly, you jump. Also money's good and whatever. I never did it for the money. I never boxed for money. But when someone dangles that carrot as well as the opportunity, it's the opportunity as well, you go for it.
Yeah. See, when that's happening, and obviously you've got promoters for fights, etc. To obviously make a fight, Ben, there's more than just you and the other fighter saying, yeah, I get that. The way things are portrayed in the media and everything is like, is it true that fighters are actually, no, I don't want to take that fight because I'm scared to fight them, or I'm scared to...
To be honest truth, I don't even believe it gets really asked to the fighters. Mostly, it's made all behind the scenes. It's politics. There's so much politics in boxing, and it's all made behind the scenes, and it's all happening. And to be honest, the only point you get is when it gets to the last bit, and you're signing the contract. And if someone was about to say, no, I'm not fighting him, but it very rarely happens. Boxers are proud, boxers are brave, and realistically, your manager and your trainer should be the ones saying yes and no, really. And you know, when it comes to the point with what do you think, by that time, it's already made. You know, you already won it. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be asking you. They'd obviously say no behind your back if they didn't think it was right at that time or didn't think it was enough notice. But the what do you think is the worst question to ever ask a boxer. You know, as I said, 3 weeks. Yeah, I'll do it in 3 weeks. How'd you lose? How'd you lose a stone and a half in 3 weeks? It's just well, it's half a stone a week. It ain't normal. You can't do it naturally. You know.
Yeah, I mean the reason I asked that, Ben, was just purely because of this hype that's around this AJ and Tyson Fury fight. Don't get me wrong, it's a fight everybody probably still wants to see, even though AJ's lost his belts. I do not believe for 1 minute. I mean, I've heard from Fury's side of things and the way he speaks in front of he does it in social media, he does it in front of the media as well. I don't believe that it's so bluntly the way he's saying it is. I don't think for a minute AJ's actually said, I don't want to fight him. Because AJ doesn't come across as that type of guy. He's a bit more humble and a bit more reserved than Tyson Fury is. But he certainly doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would back down from a challenge, or he would back down from that sort of challenge. I don't think he would wholeheartedly go into a fight unless he thought he couldn't win it.
No.
Otherwise, he probably wouldn't. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't fought Usyk again. But obviously, with you coming for that background, what would your take be on that on itself?
My take beyond that, and I know this happened. It's not that I think it. I know how it works behind the scenes. It'd have been promoters talking. There'd have been promoters arguing, and whoever said yes or no to the fight in the very end, or the reason why it broke down, there'd have been a pure reason for it too. Whether it was making more money, not being rude, the fight is going to be worth hundreds of millions because it is that big of a fight. Even though AJ hasn't got the belts now, it's that big. It will make that amount of money over here, and it could sell out 2 Wembley stadiums. It's that big, you know. So. But you could be looking at it like, I don't know, maybe you're Eddie Hearns or whoever's the businessman that's really thinking about it, and they go, do you know what, though? You come back, you win one more fight, you look real hungry, okay? Then you're in a better position because you're feeling confident you haven't come off of a loss. But also, this fight will be more entertainment for the rest of the world as well, your Americans and the rest of the other people don't want this anymore because they're thinking that you now have got the bigger chance to winning. So now that it's money as well. So it's not just money from AJ and Tyson. It's the money men behind the scene. I think Tyson Fury, in my eyes, he's going to make money in it. He's got the belts. He's got the belt and he's ready to. He can fight Usyk straight after. So the money's going to be there. But with AJ, my honest opinion, he could do with 1 win, which he'd get and he'd win, I believe. And then people go, oh, he was good. Do you see how good he was? You know, he's got that new trainer, and they talk about that sort of side of it. They, I think he's got a chance against Tyson Fury now. As soon as you get that, it's a bigger fight.
Yeah.
I think it was already set up ready for that.
I can see that, because I do.
Do you think AJ's going to have another fight to try and get him back on track, and then obviously?
I think he's due. I think he's due to fight in December, anyways. You know, is he not?
I think he's trying to fight. Is it the big? Is it Hadorki or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's been a few names in the hat that want. You know, one of them was Dillian White again, which to me, is not really what I want to see. But there's, you know. I mean, another massive great fight would be him against Wilder. I mean, wow, what a fight.
Yeah.
The thing is, that's a big risk. If you ask me.
For both fighters, I would say that's a big risk, yeah.
Hugely, yeah. And especially for AJ, if we're talking about him fighting Tyson Fury again. If you look at Wilder, my eyes shouldn't fight. I mean, there's even talk about another fight with him and Tyson Fury, but it's no interest to me, that fight.
Yeah.
But the AJ fight at Tyson Fury is a big interest. So in my eyes, it's a bigger loss for AJ. Don't get me wrong, he goes and beats Wilder, and everyone will go, wow, yeah, he could easily beat Tyson Fury. But it's a big risk. Do you want to take the risk? Probably not. You get him fighting you know, getting fighting a little bit like Tyson Fury's fighting a Chisora or something like that, and he goes and whoops him, and the people might go, "Oh, blimey, look how good he was that train. Got a new trainer now. Look how great. He started to do things different. He's got his old aggressive AJ back." Because it talks about that, you know, he's not, he's, you know, he didn't have that aggression that he first started with, and all that sort of thing, you know. So you just got to show a little bit of that, and everyone will be back on the AJ wagon. So
because obviously, I mean, they've not got to, you know, you've still got Joe Joyce looking, and you've still got Daniel Dubois now coming through, and there is other guys that are going to be soon champing the door saying, right here, I want a slice of this pie.
Of course. In my eyes, I think Joshua would stay sort of clear of them up and coming ones, I believe. Fight someone that's sort of been there, done it, but not quite there now. Wipe the floor of them, hopefully. Look good. Then that fight's a big option for Tyson Fury, you know. Whether it's before Usyk or after Usyk, who knows? Personally, if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd want it before Tyson Fury fights Usyk, because then the winner gets to fight Usyk again as such, you know what I mean? And to me, I think it's Tyson Fury. He's too big, too quick, and the difference is he can move at that size. AJ, don't get me wrong, great fighter, but he's a big, pumped up sort of Frank Bruno for me. He's too muscle bound, he's too strong, you know. And that's not me being horrible to him.
No,
that's
not Ben. That's not what I'm laughing at. I'm just as you said, Frank Bruno there. See, when I first saw AJ, I turned around to my dad without knowing who AJ was, and I turned around to my dad at the time and I said, "Is he Frank Bruno's son?"
Yeah,
because that's exactly what I thought he looked like.
He's muscle bound, but you get someone who's quick. Speed kills in my eyes, you know. Don't matter. I mean, they're big guys, so they're all going to have power, wherever you look at it. He's got, you know, Tyson Fury. You can say he can't hit. Believe me, that man can still punch, you know. But with speed as well, it just takes people apart. And he can move at that size. He moves like Ali, but he's 6'9".
It's impressive. It really is. I mean, the guy, for a guy to have that big, you know, that big I don't want to say ego, but he's got that load of confidence, and he can back it up as well, which is really good.
100%.
You know, people can say what they want. And obviously, Ben, I've seen you in a photo with Tyson Fury. His boxing brought you. Brought you that reward. Like, do you get to meet with those guys at nights and charity events or things that you do?
Yeah, you do. You do.
Is it such a small world then? Yeah, boxing.
It is a small world. I haven't seen Tyson since then. I was in a camp just on the south of London. My trainer as a pro, Lee Wilkins, was linked with Hennessy. Tyson Fury was Hennessy, and it was all a small little network. So that's why I got to sort of be part of their community anyway. And that photo you see was at Wembley. One of my sparring partners was fighting at Wembley at the time. It was actually on the undercard of Eubanks versus what's his bloody name? I can't remember. Anyways, so we were there, and we were all there in the change rooms, and all part of the same team as such. You know, we're all together. So yeah, nice.
Well, that's for me anyway. The fact that I think sometimes being in boxing, like you say, when it comes to like AJ and obviously Tyson, I do believe that what you're saying is true, Ben, in terms of politics. There's a lot of things. Obviously, that's your game. Ben, you're involved in it.
Yeah.
You know, this guy says this, he says this. Media say it's all passing the buck, and they all talk, and something doesn't get signed because of certain wee things. But in terms of yourself, Ben, obviously you've went from amateur and then professional.
Yeah.
Your first fight in 26 with Carl Allen. When did you actually get the kind of go ahead to start getting professional, leading up to these kind of professional fights? Because obviously you've won 5 titles: WBO, Intercontinental, European, IBO, International, English Champion, International Masters. So you've done well, mate, in terms of the level. You fought a very high level compared to what I feel anyway.
I tell you what, mate, you've done well to remember all that there. I couldn't even say that. I couldn't even say that with a drinking, mate, by the way.
But Addy, if you always hear research, mate, always hear research.
No, that's fine. Listen, that's why you're the gaffer, mate.
But if you're going for amateur, Ben, how many amateur fights did you have before you actually got the shot of your first fight and then your first title fight as well in 2011?
I had about 50 odd amateur fights. I we talk about amateur, okay? Listen to my amateur, who was in my weight as amateur. So we were all in I was in the top 4 in the country, okay? Me, Frankie Gavin, who was world champion amateur. Frankie Gavin was. Amir Khan.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And Anthony Crolla.
Oh, Rick Crolla.
Crolla as well.
Ain't a bad weight, is it, eh? Well,
that's all right, aye.
You look at it now, at the time, obviously, we knew nothing. Do you know what I mean? We're all each other, you know? So, yeah, that ain't a bad weight, though, eh? So,
I mean, you're all good friends as well, Ben, yeah?
Yeah, I'm the only one I'm not so friendly. I don't know Amir Khan, really. Obviously, moved to America, a lot of that. Also, he was a bit younger as well. So when I was saying he was still 17, 18 years old. He was a young lad when we were still in the ABAs all together. But yeah, the others, Frankie Gavin and Andy Crowley, yeah, we'd still be good friends and what have you as well.
And obviously with the other boys as well, but like say with Amir Khan, when you got to see him, did you guys have a feeling that he was going to do well as well as what he did?
You could tell he was going to do well. You know, I remember sparring him in the England squad, and wow, I mean, his hand speed was phenomenal. And people say he don't punch, he can punch. You know, the awkward thing is, don't get me wrong, he was in a hard weight, and that's no excuse. But he was in a hard weight with the best of the best of the best at the time. Welterweight was phenomenal, you know, and look how well we done, blimey, world champion, and you know, we come back to the last bits of against Kell Brook, but that was when they're old men, blimey. Look at me on my last fight. I mean, not being rude, but that wasn't me, you know. That was again, it's weight drained, and it's not the same person, you know. You just talk about the people when they're in their prime, you know. 28s to 30s, 32 maximum, you know, and that's when you. This is why it's a shame that they end up fighting at the end of their career, not when they're going up and through. Yeah. And then you judge someone and go, "Oh, look how great Kell Brook." Kell Brook was a fantastic fighter, but when you're in your prime, who knows? Well, it's a different game, you know. And you could tell Kell Brook still had it. He was great, you know. But Khan looked like he was. Whether Kell did that to him, I don't know. But he looked like a half, not even half of the person he was, you know. That's my opinion.
You're talking about guys in your peak, Ben, and for me, the two guys I kind of grew up watching a wee bit was Carol Froch, who 8,000 at Wembley, as he always says.
Before I come on here, I was watching.
I thought Carol Froch, and for me, Carol Froch and David Tay, they were the two guys that are in boxing. Obviously, again, it's no disrespect to a lot of guys. The guys like yourself, you are fought at a high level. I only really look at high level fights at the heavyweights. I don't really know a lot of guys at the lower sense of the scale because they're not on TV, they're not really on social media. But David Tay and Thoughts from me, Ben, were the two guys that are no forward, but the guys who I really wanted to watch, and I was gutted I didn't get to see them. But for me, it was probably David Tay. I thought David Tay at his prime was outrageous. You obviously know more in that game and how guys at his level punch the heavyweights, how hard they punch.
Yeah.
For me, I still think if fully fit, he would I don't want to be disrespectful to Bellew, but I thought a fully fit David Tay would have schooled Bellew, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't know boxing too much.
I'm with you, to be honest.
I still think Bellew, when they fought first, when his Achilles went, I thought he was schooling the fight. I thought he was easy winning it. Yeah. But and then obviously that happened, and Bellew still couldn't get a one guy down with one leg for a long time. I believe David Tay, his peak was very, very good, and I still think he's underrated, Ben, by a lot of English people and a lot of people in the boxing world. But growing up, who was your idol at the moment? Was David Tay ever somebody you looked up to? Have you even met David Tay or seen his fights?
See, David A to me when he was a cruiserweight, that he was fantastic, you know. And again, what happens is they go on too long. That's what happens. They go on that little bit too long, and it ruled the cruiserweights. The cruiserweights it finished with it. Cruiserweight has never been the best of weights, weirdly enough. You know, it's a bit of a weird weight that gets in between. And they jumped for the heavyweights, which heavyweights, well, annoyingly for me, being a featherweight, but that's where the money is. You know, everyone wants to see that knockout, and Tony Bellew and David Haye aren't heavyweights, but they went up and did it for huge amounts of money. You know, but Tony Bellew was great in the fight and done exactly what he needed, but that wasn't Tony Bellew at his best, neither. You know, they're not them. They just went on a little bit too long for money again, and they've made a hell of a lot of money, and so good luck to them. Good luck to them. But there's you know, just making decisions in the end for money, you know, or to make that legacy. Whether you like David Haye or not, I think he was fantastic in his prime. But if you like him or not, everybody knows who David Haye is. And everyone knows who Tony Bellew is. So actually they've done something right, because they now live out of boxing being superstars still. Yeah. As in, you can quite easily be forgotten in from sport. You know, I have it now. I mean, we play with, I for some reason, I end up in charity football matches and stuff, because I play football, but I end up playing with all the ex-stars, you know, your Darren Andertons and all these sort of people.
What a player he was, man.
My very good friends, you know. And you can see how some of them have jumped real high. For instance, Neil Ruddock went into Big Brother and the Jungle, so made his name hugely again. And so be it. So he should as well, because he is such a love, funny, cracking personality. I think he should be on more TV doing different, presenting that type of point, because he is so witty and very clever at talking. But then you got like Darren Anderton was a cracking footballer.
Brilliant player.
See Darren Anderton? Where is he? I mean, you speak to young lads, and they don't even know who he is. No. But you say Neil Ruddock, they go, the guy on the Jungle. Yeah.
In my opinion, Darren Anderton should be with Steve McManaman and stuff on BT Sport talking.
There you go.
You know, because one of his old managers, Glenn Hoddle, obviously they took ill for a while. Yeah. He should be in beside some of those guys. Talking BT Sport, Champions League, Europa League, doing whatever he can to still affect the game and give his opinion. What a player he was. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. But you get some that were really good players, but they've forgotten. They've gone. You know, it's because you just need that something big. And I believe like your Tony Bellews and your David Hayes, if they didn't do what they did at the end, could have been forgotten now. Yeah. So I do remember him a bit, you know, but now you don't forget him. He's there. And plus he went into the jungle. Went in the jungle, didn't he? Or Big Brother.
David did,
yeah. And then Tony Bellews obviously got involved in films, and they're going to be around for a while now, because they've made that big stamp in not just boxing. So call me up. I'm going to the jungle. The next jungle's me. All right,
we'll try and get you. We'll do our best. We'll give you some shout outs, mate.
Let's give me
gas listing.
Big Brother, though, I'm happy with that one.
But I do agree with you, Ben. I get that skill, because it's the same as some footballers. Once they retire, they don't really do much, and their name does kind of dwindle into thin air, and their fame, I'm not saying their fame goes away, but like if it was a Celtic player, i.e. you're a Spurs fan, if you're a Spurs ex-player, you would know them, but some people don't really know who they are, and like you say, these guys have done stuff to keep their name out there. I don't know what you feel, JP, but who your boxer was maybe growing up, but I'm similar to Ben. I thought David Tate, his peak was quite likely phenomenal.
He's fantastic boxer.
His power and his punches, his speed work, obviously his body, he fights.
He's my man, Sugar Ray. That's my man.
Sugar Ray.
He was me growing up. You know, he was special fighter, special.
No, but I think for me, JP, David Tate, he kind of lives his life in terms of he still lives the way he does. He's actually done something recently on Instagram where he kind of lived like me and you in a way. Yeah. Obviously me and you we're not eating McDonald's every day. You still eat okay, but he was living like a normal person, not an athlete. He on his Instagram he was eating like fry-ups and iron brew, and he was drinking more regularly just for a trial and experiment. Right. And for 3 months, I don't know if you've seen this, Ben, on his Instagram, but for 3 months he was just eating regular food like shite, basically. And then he's doing a thing now where I think is it within a few weeks or a few months, he's going to show you how easy it is to lose it if you eat right and keep fit. So he's still living like that, the new JP. So for me, that just shows you that he is. I don't know, Ben will probably agree with me, JP, but to make it at the top level, you kind of, it's in your mind set to do that even when you retire, JP.
But the difference is, Ryan, see when he's doing that documentary on there for 3 months, he's trained like an athlete all his days, right? So him doing that for 3 months is like, see if we done a documentary, it would last about fucking 3 years. Because we have no trained like that.
That's it.
They've trained like that all their life. Those guys are toned machines, like finely tuned athletes. 3 months to him, getting that off in 3 weeks to him, as Ben says, it is going to be hard, but he's used to working like that. That's every day in the office for him, mate. Do you know what I mean? But growing up, Brian, just as you were asking a minute ago, I'm probably going to blow you out the water here, to be honest with you, mate. I'm not trying to, but obviously I've got a bit more time than you have here. So growing up for me, I mean, I watched guys like Frank Bruno, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Chris Eubank Senior, Nigel Benn, Michael Watson, obviously whatever, you know, it was a tragic thing what happened to him.
They were our era, that's why.
That's what I'm saying. So I grew up. Obviously, there was a guy. I don't know if you'll know him, Ben. There was a guy from the East End of Glasgow back in the day. He done quite well in the boxing game. His name was Gary Jacobs.
Do you know what? I probably do.
He's from Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow was he?
Yeah.
We've had some great fighters in Scotland, you know.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got Ricky Burns and we've now got young Scott doing well as well.
Yep.
He's a big Edinburgh fan, isn't he? So, with Scott Harrison as well.
Yeah, was a great fighter, Scott.
Yeah, he was a good boxer as well.
He's on my Instagram and stuff. He's
what's Ricky Lemon?
Good lad.
Willie Lemon.
Yeah, Willie Lemon, good fighter again.
Willie Lemon, he's another one. So, Ryan, I grew up watching a lot of the guys, and as much as football was my first choice, I still had eyes in the boxing game. I wasn't training at it or doing it, but I was still into it. I took an interest in it, and that's how I'm able to rhyme off people like I've been able to, because obviously you watch boxing on TV, and a way back then, Ryan, it wasn't so hard to watch boxing. Boxing was on Channel 3.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so we could watch it always. And
so she likes you the Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn 2 fights. Those 2 fights were live on a Saturday night on Channel 3 and back in the day, mate. All the big fights, weren't they? Like, they didn't have Sky Box Office way back then, and all these big prime time pay-per-views. And
it's getting better now. I mean, I think Sky Sports and obviously Daz and stuff are making boxing huge again, which is great, and it's bringing boxing back. But the problem is, you could be watching. I want to go and watch Sky TV, but Daz is on, but also BT Sports on, and you can go and watch Box Nation. Which ones you can flick between all of them now, and
it's not bad, mate. Just come to Ryan. So she was telling us all night he's getting a dodgy box. So we've got a couple of TVs set up. We can set it up in the games room.
That's it. That's me. That one. I've got that.
No, but obviously, Ben, see, when you're doing your training camps for your fights, I don't know if you went abroad and done any before. But
I did a lot of the time.
I see when you're done your training camps, obviously, I don't know if your family go with you or they stay at home, but when you've get away for a long time and you're not on your phone all the time, you're kind of away from your home comfort, shall I say. How hard is it to go away? Obviously, your mind's on the prize, winning titles, winning fights, and keep myself toned and fit and lean and keep healthy. But is it hard to go in camps and train and eat healthy, that's what I'm saying. I totally agree with you in terms of your discipline to get up and have a certain routine and do the same things every day and every week and monthly and yearly, basically. How hard are the training camps mentally and physically, and obviously for your family as well?
I think mentally and physically very hard. I did used to go away. Yeah, quite a lot of time I'd go over to Miami to the Fifth Street Gym, which Sugar Ray Leonard was part of back in the day. but you had all the best of the best there. Always, you had all the Mexicans coming over. I used to spar with Paulie Maganaggi, which is one world-class boxer. There was fantastic fighters walking in and out all the time, and great camps to be. But I think it's one of them things you just realise that you had to be in that situation and live it. Mm-hmm. And when everyone else is living it with you, it sort of it becomes a way of life. And you've got to look at how I looked at it as well. Is boxing is not forever. Yeah. You've got they've got that time, and you've got to make your legacy now, and you've got to do your bit now for the time, and you've got to sort of forget about the rest of your life, because it's going to be there when you finish, and hopefully there to pick up your pieces of everything else that goes around it. That's half the reason I think it's so difficult when some boxers and footballers and sportsmen come out of sport and then they go, I don't know what to do with themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I understand that, because they've sort of put their whole life on hold around whatever sport they're doing. Do you see what I mean? And that's why it becomes difficult. As I said, I was quite lucky. I started a business very young, so I had something to fall back on as well, which I haven't gone back into, but I've still runs. It still runs itself, which is very nice, you know. But it gives me a little bit of a free range, so I can still go down the gym. I do all PTs. I do little bits and have a bit of fun. And I've been tonight. I've trained the kids class at the amateur thing on a Monday. I go to the kids and then the seniors, and that's great for me. It keeps me busy and active as well, and it also gives me time to give back a little bit of what I've learned over the years and what was successful for me. I can give back to these young kids and give them a head start in their next, fights or career ahead of them, you know.
And the kids that are coming into your gym, Ben, are they kids off the street, or is it all mixed?
All mixed, really. Yeah, I mean, we've got all sorts, you know, real different ranges of people. As I've said to you, you can have your lawyers, your policemen, and all your wrong sort of people as well. But you find that with children as well. You got your sort of your well-to-do sort of kids with money, and then you get kids. Mainly, you get kids with nothing as well, and you'll get your travellers, and you get all your whole different ranges. But you all get on, and they might not be friends out of the gym, but it's weird. You put them in there, and they get on with everything they're doing, and they get on in there, and you split them up to partners, and it could be a traveller and some lad that's sort of a well-to-do lad with loads of money, and they get on. They do exactly what they got to do, and it's what a lovely sport to be at. You'd even struggle in a football team to build together and all different sort of ranges of people. Yeah. So it's such a lovely sport that boxing, you actually got to concentrate about what you're doing, and it don't matter who you're doing it with. Don't matter. Colours don't matter. It don't matter if you're black, you're white, you're green. Well, I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. You're there to help each other. While I'm doing something with you, you're moving around together. You're helping each other. It's weird. It's a lovely community, I believe, anyway. And the amount of people that come in, they're so scared and they're so worried that what boxing's going to be like, and they walk out and go, "Wow, how different that is! How everyone's so friendly." I thought I was going to go in there and everyone's going to be growling at me. They look at a boxing gym as if it's tough people come in my gym. Nothing. I've never walked in a boxing gym in my life like that. And I've been around many gyms where you go in sparring, everyone wants to talk to you and everyone wants to be part of it. It's good.
And is that a rule? Is that like a written rule, Ben?
I think it's the discipline side of the coaches and stuff that train you from the beginning. There's every gym. There's always you'll get that yes sir, no sir. You are never going to be cheeking your trainer. Yeah. If you're a kid, as an adult, neither. You're never going to. There's them rules. It's like your school teacher. But even more so, your school teacher couldn't give a clip around the ear roll. Do you know what I mean? And also, I just feel there's so much discipline in boxing that there's never any enemies. As soon as there's a bully in the boxing gym, it happens every now and again. They get found out very quickly. If they never come back, they never come back because there's always somebody better. Do you see what I mean? There's always someone that's above that bully. Yeah. Or they seem to fit in very quickly, which is great as well,
Another wee question for the YouTube here, Ben. Probably the last one of the night, to be fair. How difficult is it when you finish fighting yourself, Ben, to then move on to like normality, as you said earlier?
Yeah, as I said, I was quite lucky because I had things that I was, and I've got good friends around me, and obviously through boxing you meet some great friends, celebrities, and them sort of things. So I do quite a lot of evening speakings and them events as such, which keeps me in boxing. Plus, obviously, I'm in the boxing clubs and stuff like that. My personal way of doing things when I left boxing is I literally stayed away from boxing for the first 2 years. I kept away from it. I kept away from training, going part of the gym, because I was still getting phone calls. Would you fight? Would you with this? You know, come back and do it. And it was good money for me to go, you know what? I could still do this because I felt like I could. And I still feel like I can. I'm 40 years old, but I still feel, I could, other than you just get tempted. So I kept away from it. Now I'm out of it. There's no way the British Boxing Board will give my license back now. So I've gone, which is great. And you know what? I'm still part of boxing. As I said, I train people. I'm involved with the kids that are coming up and coming through. I've got my professional trainer's license, so waiting for my next superstar to take through. And like I said, I do events, I do evening speaking. Most of my friends are like ex-footballers, like I said, Neil Razor Ruddock, them sort of people. They're great. They've been through all this themselves. It's nice to be able to ring them, talk to them about them sort of things. Des Walker's one of my good friends. You can say to them, you know, like, how did you? And they're still involved, but they're not. Do you know what I mean? And it's nice events, and it's brilliant. I do a lot of evening speaking with Neil. To be honest, he's the most fun-loving guy, and he's brilliant at talking, and he reads the crowd, which is amazing for me because you get some crowds that are, you know, that they might all be football, be boxing, whatever, but he just can read them. And then there'll be some that he can have that swearing and that bit joking about, and then he can have some that are quite serious, and we go into sort of a serious talk. And that's a lovely person to be around, to be with, because he susses it very easily as well. As you can probably see, I talk for England, but you know, he's amazing at it. He's a very good sense of humour, very comical himself, and he can. But we bounce. Also, you know, because we're friends, we go out on a night out. I went to his 50th in Vegas, and we've had that sort of banter, so we get the laughs and the jokes as well. So it's fun for the crowd to watch, and they're nice as well. So we can see a bit of everything, you know.
Yeah.
See, in terms the last obviously, Ben, overall it was 31 wins, 31 fights, 22 wins, 10 KO, so 10 KOs as well. So he must have been a good punch as well, mate, to KO people. And see, in terms of the last bit about the boxing, Ben, and obviously speak about your football love and Spurs. See the mental health side of boxing. Do you think is that flagged up enough? Do you think? Because obviously mental health at the moment's a big thing in all sports and walk of life due to everything that's been going on in basically the full world. Basically, did anything like that ever happen to you during your career? Because obviously you're fighting, you're getting hurt, dealing with the media, dealing with a bit of fame on the TV. Did you get any like media training, or did you have any mental health help when you were in your boxing? And after you stop fighting, do you get that from the boxing board? Do you get help as you go along in your career and when you leave?
I was very, very, very lucky. I can see exactly how it happens to people, because sport is selfish, because you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to really want to do it. And when it comes to an end or doesn't quite happen to how you want it to happen, it's got to be the worst feelings in the world. It is the worst thing in the world. If I lost, it would be like my world's ended. Okay. But you've got to pull yourself up and get back on with it, you know. Also with boxing as well, I think that people look at you as this tough, rough and tough guy, so you're never going to have these problems. But as Tyson Fury would say, open speaking, no matter how hard and tough I am, I still got feelings. I'm still human. Do you see what I mean? So it is difficult. I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. I've got some great friends around me, luckily, and a great family. You know, everyone there if I can talk to, if I needed to, and I sort of live my life as always live it to the highest, to a high.
Yeah.
I'm such a positive person. Everything has to be positive. As soon as the negative comes in, I try and find positives out of my negatives, and that's just how I work. So I just look at life slightly different, you know, and that's, don't get me wrong, everybody gets down days. I've had down days and whatever, but I soon snap out of it as quick as I can, you know, because there's always a positive that comes out of everything.
I think, JP, that's for anybody that's watching, anybody who does listen to when it's out as well, and other platforms, and in general, what Ben says is I think it's quite a good thing he says, JP, because listen, I've suffered in the past through football injuries. Most people these days have got some in it, but they don't actually, like Ben says, they can't open up and they can't speak. They've not really got a platform to talk through, etc. So I think it's quite a good thing, JP, that Ben says, like, even when you've got a negative, try and think of a positive, Al. For me, it's always...
You know what? Every negative's got more positives. If you actually really look at it, there'll be a negative that I get. For some reason, I'm the sort of person that all my friends will ring me and say about their relationship problems, whatever the problems in their life, and it all comes to me. And I always try and turn around everything they're saying to the reason why it's good. And you know what? That's probably why they come to me, because I will make good out of what they told me so bad. You know, maybe their wives or girlfriends, whatever's left them, this reason, whatever. But there's always a good out of that, you know, for the reason that they've done it. Because obviously there's happier times out there always, and that's just how I look at life. You know, I try to anyway.
I think, JP, what Ben says, for me, it's a good thing. I would think for people to take on and kind of take on board, because we're all going to have, like Ben says, some mornings you wake up, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to train, but it's not for me. It's not a case that I don't need to. It's I can go to work, I can train, I can't. So everything's always a positive. So I think, JP,
there's always somebody worse off than you as well. That's how you got to look at it as well. Look at these people. We might complain about something that is huge in our life. Huge thing that's happened to me. Oh, I've lost this, lost this fight, my world's ending and whatever. But there's somebody out there on the other side of the world that's just been blown up, and they're in. Do you know what? There's some really horrible things that have happened to people, and we moan about something. Actually, we all live in a lovely, lovely environment. We've got homes, we've got houses, and there's people without everything, and you've got to look at it like that.
I think, JP, what Ben just says here and what he was saying, I think anybody listening, it's quite a good thing to maybe take on board.
Yeah, definitely, mate. When you're feeling down, or you're feeling,
I always talk back.
when you're feeling down and you're feeling maybe at your lowest point, it's probably important to try and switch that to, I'll get up, I'll put on some clothes, I'll put on the radio, I'll put on, just get your brain active.
100%.
As best as you can.
Change as well, from being,
and that's how your day changes, just with small movements like that.
100%.
Small movements turn into medium-sized movements. Medium-sized movements turn into big movements. Before you know it, you're battering down doors with ideas for something to change in your life.
100%. 100%.
And if anybody's listening, it feels as if they can't reach out, there's always somebody there willing to listen to you.
As I said, you're more than welcome. Message me on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll get back to you. I always will. So, you're more than welcome. Lads,
same as myself.
I've got
same as myself. I'm on Twitter as well. Same as myself.
I think that's out.
No, that's all right. As I says, your last bit, Ben, obviously football. Spurs, how do you think under Conte, how he's doing, and how do you think he'll kind of progress the rest of the season?
Right. Well, as you just know, I'm a Spurs fan. To be honest, I'm a football fan. I love all football. I'll watch any football that's on, whether it's Man United, Arsenal, whoever. It's just me. I'm not, I hate these, I hate that. That's just not how I am, Conte for Spurs, very positive. If you look at one thing for me is how enthusiastic he is in running up and down that pitch, and how his enthusiasm pushes onto the players. That to me is everything I'd want to see if I was playing out there.
He's very animated, doesn't he?
I'm not the person really that sit there and be very sort of calm, and I've got to have that shout at me. I want to come on, I'll do it. You're doing brilliant, and tell me when I'm good. Tell me when I'm bad. I want that I want that enthusiasm. If you've got that enthusiasm, I'm going to give you all mine. That's Conte for me.
Yeah. Well, we've actually just found out today that our manager has a bit of a lunatic inside him that likes to smash up TVs with his hands. there's a video being released today. The Celtic manager, Ange Postecoglou, and it's his time when he Socceroos when he was the Australian manager.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were doing what they were being asked of, and he used his hand as a big hammer to smash on the TV and
if
get
he's
his point
that
across.
enthusiastic, maybe the players should be.
It's probably wiser, wise enough why our current captain says that there's no way we would be able to do one of those all or nothing programs. we probably saw a small snippet of that today. But I just wanted to ask you, Ben, obviously you've been a big Spurs fan. And by the way, what a stadium it is he's about now.
It's a cracking stadium, yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. The things that place has got in it is just phenomenal. But the players that you have had, obviously, on your books and that you have let go, how in God's name did you let go Cameron Carter-Vickers?
Oh, right. Oh, do you know what?
Seriously. And obviously we've got Joe Hart as well, who was part of your club for a while, but but I do not know how how did you not find a gem in that guy, man?
We've had all sorts, mate. Do you know what? With Spurs, I think he's going to go. With Spurs, I think it's it's such an up and down. I mean, with some of the players we've just bought, they're not working for us. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. It's a very, and then some of them are fantastic. So it's a real up and down thing. Let's see what happens at the end of the season. I think there are going to be hopefully a few nice signings as well. Sorry, moving about, lads.
So obviously a bad injury to Son there, wasn't it, as well?
A few gems.
That was a bad injury Son got as well, wasn't it, Ben?
It was, yeah. But we're lucky for us, not so much for Son, but the World Cup sort of helped us with that in some ways with Son, because he only missed a couple of games for us, you know.
Right, okay. Is he going to be okay after the World Cup?
I believe so. I mean, he's still in the squad. He's still in the Korean squad, so it sort of shows that he's off all right to play in the World Cup.
Right. I think Wolves are kind of similar. They're kind of worried about Big Jimenez being called up to the Mexico squad as well.
Oh, yeah.
I know their new manager, Lopetegui, has turned around and says that the Mexicans have actually put quite a lot of pressure on him to travel with the squad.
Blimey, Riley. Well,
obviously, I know, Ben, your phone's about to go, so we'll try. Overall, Ben, again, it's been amazing to talk to you, Ben. Your experiences and me and JP have learned a lot through this. Me especially, because I know boxing, but obviously the ins and outs you don't really know for a fighter that, for me, at a high level. Overall, Ben, again, I really appreciate your time, mate. But what would be your lasting word on the podcast, mate?
Do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me, and fantastic podcast now. So thank you. I just appreciate it. It's no bother to me, and I'm free anytime. Anyone wants to talk or anyone wants to catch me on Twitter or Instagram, it's Ben Jones Boxer, and I'll answer your questions. You leave it with me. If I don't get back to you within a day or so, I will do. Believe me. So get me on at Ben Jones Boxer on either of them, and I'm happy to answer any questions you want. If there's any questions for people in the crowd that actually want to ask me about stuff, 100%. But thank you for having me on, lads. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Nice meeting you.
It's a pleasure, Ben, but I'll let you go and get your phone charged, mate, and chill out. But again, Ben, thanks for your time, mate. Obviously, you can get Ben on Twitter, Instagram, get me, JP, as well. We're on our socials as well. On YouTube. Get a wee subscribe, and you'll get to see the YouTube as well from us and previous podcasts. But again, Ben, thanks a lot, and a big thank you, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
There you go. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
See you real soon. Thank you, lads. Cheers.
Bye-bye, mate. Bye-bye.